Welcome to Tessera, a podcast by Tesseros. Here, we're learning in the workshop of everyday life. Small adjustments, simplified workflows, creative ideas explored instead of ignored. Each episode, I share real stories from home and work as I experiment with technology and AI, not to chase perfection, but to build systems that support what actually matter. Because when our systems support us, we create space for the things that shape us. I'm glad you're here to build this mosaic. Let's place the next piece. I've been thinking a lot about resiliency and agency, and I was looking for a specific podcast episode I had listened to share with a friend. And I knew the show, I knew the analogy that the guest used, but I couldn't remember the guest's name or the episode title. So I described it to Gemini. I had the wrong guest name, but I was close enough that within 3 questions we found it. It was episode 154 of Moonshots with Peter Diamandis and will.i.am. And the analogy that he gave in this episode was worth the hunt. The idea is this: for most of human history, building a career or a life was like choosing a railroad track. You picked your profession, your 10-year plan, your lane, and you stayed on it. The track was stable and you were disciplined and you worked hard and you didn't deviate. The track took you to where it was supposed to go. But with AI and how quickly technology is accelerating things, it feels like the tracks get moved or sometimes even blown up while we're still traveling on them. And so that changes everything about what success actually requires. It's no longer about staying on the track. It's about developing the agility to jump off and land on another one without breaking everything in the transition. It's knowing when to pivot, knowing when what you built no longer serves you, knowing that the plan that you made 6 months ago might need to be completely rerouted today. And that's the new terrain that we're in. For entrepreneurs, I think this may land differently than for some other people because most of us already know somewhere in our gut that we're operating conditions that change faster than we can plan for. We feel it, but I think naming it as a skill, something that we can do instead of a problem, something that's happening to us, is important. Last episode, I talked about the always-on brain and how for founders, especially in the building years, your business and your life aren't separate things. They're made of the same material: your energy, your values, your time. What depletes one depletes the other, and what fills one can fill the other too. I want to stay in that territory today because the railroad track idea lives there. The agility that we're talking about isn't just a business strategy, it's a whole self skill. And I think the clearest way I can tell you that is to share a story about my fridge. My fridge died a couple weeks ago, and it died in the morning as we were getting ready to leave for school. There was a power surge in our area, and apparently it took out multiple appliances across the neighborhood. My fridge was 14 and a half years old, which is a long life these days for an appliance, but that certainly doesn't make it less of a problem to solve. So I spent about 90 minutes with Gemini working through it. When I opened the fridge, it still had lights that came on, but the control board, like to access the water and stuff like that, that wasn't working normally. Like it was a blank screen, but if you press things, it was all 8s, and I couldn't hear the compressors kicking on for the fridge or the freezer. So using Gemini, I went through the troubleshooting steps methodically. I tried several things and eventually landed at the control panel was likely fried. The repair just isn't worth it. So I shifted the conversation to replacement, what I was looking for, what my space range was. And then I stopped because none of the results that I was getting were really what I wanted. And in the back of our minds, we've been thinking about a kitchen remodel. We have an original down vent Jenn-Air stove that's still running, but reasonably can go any day. The fridge was in an awkward location with really limited size options. And when the troubleshooting for the current fridge failed and I looked at what was available, I didn't love any of it. So we paused. We were lucky enough to have a generous friend who could lend us a second mini fridge, and we moved the items out of the freezer to the deep freeze, and we gave ourselves space to think. Is this the moment we want to make a big move? Do we have a clear enough vision of what we want to look like in the kitchen? And when we sat down with those questions, honestly, the answer was not yet. We don't have a clear vision. We don't want to start a reno right before harvest season. And we'd already decided that the backyard is the priority this year. We need to fix the structure out there and repair what the old creosote railway ties left behind and get the soil healthy enough that we can actually grow some food. And so once we got clear on that, the fridge decision was simple. We bought the option that best fits our current restraints, knowing it's a 10 to 14-year appliance and knowing that if a kitchen reno does happen down the road, we'll design around what the future could look like and around what we purchased. The whole sequence, the troubleshooting, the pause, the borrowed fridge, the bigger conversation about the backyard and harvest season and the remodel we're not ready for, that's a track jumping skill. And the part I want you to hold on to is that agility isn't always in the speed of the decision. Sometimes it's in recognizing that you're at a junction and resisting the pressure to just pick something and move and take a moment to figure out which direction you actually want to go to. Knowing when the track isn't ready is part of the skill too. I want to bring that same view to how I've been working because I think there's something useful here for anyone that's building right now. The new Tesseros pages went live this week. So we've got a new homepage, consulting page, workshops page, all reflecting the repositioned direction that we talked about last episode. And I want to be honest about what the week before launch actually felt like, because I don't think that we talk about this enough. I was terrified to hit publish. What if the positioning is confusing? What if the copy doesn't land? What if I've been staring at it so long I can't tell anymore whether it's good? I went through probably a dozen iterations, moved sentences around, second-guessed headlines, pulled sections, put them back, took them away again. And it felt like this enormous consequential thing. Like the moment I published, everybody would be watching and judging and forming opinions. And then I published and nothing happened. Not in a bad way, just the way that things actually work. The people who needed to see it will find it over time, but no one's standing by waiting to review it going, oh my gosh, it's on the internet now. And at some point during the iterations, I was working through copy with Claude and it said something that made me stop. The energy you're spending worrying about this is energy you're not spending actually talking to people. That's the real loss. And that resonated because it's true. The over-editing, the second-guessing, the one more pass before I'm ready, all of it has a real cost. And the cost isn't the quality of the page. It's the conversations that aren't happening while you're perfecting the thing that's supposed to start them. We imagine so many more eyes on us than are actually there. And the fear of those imaginary eyes can keep you on a track that's going nowhere. Refining instead of moving, preparing instead of doing. If you're in accounting, you'll likely have seen this with getting the books perfect instead of getting them done and thinking about what's going to be happening instead of what happened. And that's the track jumping skill applied to your own head, recognizing when the work that feels productive is actually a way of staying still. How I've been using Claude has shifted in a similar direction. I used to come in with something fairly formed and ask for execution. Now I come in with the half-baked thing, the fragment, the direction I can't quite name yet, and I let the conversations sharpen it. The LinkedIn post that I hadn't have an idea for, it's just not working. So, hey, Claude, here's the things that are going on right now. Can you ask me questions to help me generate something that might be relatable for people? A card structure on a website that I was interested in but didn't know how to code. A positioning question I couldn't answer alone. The tool works differently when you stop waiting until you're ready and just bring what you have. I've been working on a quick wins resource page, and that will be an example of this. I described the structure that I wanted. So cards that I can click on to expand, and they'll have a problem and solution pairs. And I had Claude generate the HTML from that description. And now we're in refinement of building out the first card sections, which is going to be about sleep and the evening scroll. That one deserves its own episode, so I'll come back to it properly. But the page will exist because I described a thing I wanted and I let the tool meet me there instead of waiting until I knew exactly how to build it. The tracks are being changed while we travel, and sometimes that's the pricing model of a tool. Sometimes it's realizing what you built needs to be repositioned. Sometimes it's just recognizing that the preparation has gone on long enough and the next track is on the other side of publish. The Tessera this week is connected directly to the railroad tracks idea, and I want you to take it into both parts of your life, home and work, because as we talked about last episode, they're the same life. Think about something that you're still trying to make work, even though part of you already knows the track has shifted. It might be your business strategy. It might be a tool or a system you've outgrown. It might be a goal that made sense when you set it, but doesn't quite fit where you actually are now. And it might be something at home, a plan, a timeline, a version of something you thought you wanted, but that doesn't quite match what you actually want anymore. You don't need to abandon it, but look at it honestly and ask, am I on this track because it's still going somewhere? Or am I on it because I chose it and leaving feels like losing? Those are two very different reasons to stay, and only one of them is actually useful. The tracks are being moved while we travel, and the skill isn't holding on. It's knowing when to jump and trusting that you're someone who can land. Thanks for listening to Tessera. If this episode sparked an idea or helped you forge a new path, we'd love to hear it. Tessera is built by community. Send us your questions, feedback, or stories about how you're using AI and other technologies to simplify your life. Email us at hello@tesseros.com or leave a review on the app where you're listening right now. And if you know someone who's looking to craft their life a little bit differently, please share this episode with them. You can find all episodes, show notes, and extras at tesseros.com/Tessera and subscribe through your preferred podcast app. Until next time, keep placing the pieces that matter.